Are startups really as unique as they claim, or are they just another type of business on the block? Now that's a question worth pondering. Let's start with the popular image of startups. Picture this: a handful of bright minds huddled in a garage, fueled by pizza and ambition. They're agile, they're innovative, they're disruptors. They're not just creating a product or service, they're on a mission to change the world, right? Well, that's the narrative we often hear. But let's flip the coin. What if we strip away the glamorous tech jargon and the shiny veneer of innovation? What are we left with? At the core, aren't startups just businesses? They have a product or service to sell. They need to attract customers, make profits, and grow. Sounds pretty much like any other business, doesn't it? Sure, startups often operate in uncharted territories, exploring cutting-edge technologies or creating entirely new markets. And yes, they are usually more flexible and faster to adapt than their traditional counterparts. But let's not forget that at their heart, they still adhere to the same fundamental principles that govern all businesses. Let's take the concept of profit, for instance. Whether you're a cutting-edge tech startup or a centuries-old family-run bakery, the bottom line is, you need to make money to stay afloat. You need to find your market, understand your customers, and deliver a product or service they're willing to pay for. And let's not even get started on the challenges. From finding the right team to securing funding, from navigating regulatory hurdles to surviving competition, startups face the same trials and tribulations as any other business. So, what's the verdict? Are startups a unique breed, a novel species in the business ecosystem? Or are they just a different flavor of the same old business soup, albeit one with a bit more spice and sizzle? So, are startups truly a separate entity, or just a new spin on the old business model? Let's delve deeper. The startup culture, a revolutionary approach to work, or an overhyped trend? Let's dive into the heart of this debate. On one hand, we have the champions of startup culture who laud its revolutionary nature. They argue that startups, with their informal, flexible, and collaborative environment, are hotbeds of innovation and agility. They're not just making waves, they're making tsunamis in industries, disrupting the status quo, and redefining what's possible. In the world of startups, there are no corner offices or rigid hierarchies. It's a world where the intern might be the next person to come up with a brilliant idea. It's a world where you can pivot on a dime, adapting to market changes faster than a chameleon changes colors. It's a world where collaboration and creativity are currency, and where the only constant is change itself. But let's flip the coin, shall we? On the other side of the debate, we have the skeptics who argue that startup culture is just an overhyped trend, a shiny object distracting us from the pitfalls of such an environment. They point to the lack of stability and structure, the long hours and high stress, the high failure rate of startups. In their view, startup culture is a high-stakes gamble, where the odds are stacked against you more often than not. They argue that while the traditional business environment may not have the glitz and glamour of the startup world, it offers something equally valuable: predictability and stability. Traditional businesses, with their established structures and processes, provide a sense of security and predictability that startups often lack. They are the tortoise to the startup's hare, slowly but steadily moving forward. So, where does this leave us? The startup culture, a game changer, or just a trendy facade? The debate continues. It's like comparing apples and oranges, each with their distinct flavors and benefits. The truth may lie somewhere in the middle, a blend of the revolutionary and the traditional, the exciting and the stable. But one thing's for sure, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. Each person, each idea, each business may require a unique approach, and that perhaps is the true beauty of the business world. Startup funding, a booming investment opportunity, or a bubble waiting to burst? Let's dive into the heart of this question. Investing in startups can be a thrilling roller coaster ride, offering the potential for astronomical returns that traditional investments often can't match. But like every roller coaster, there are ups and downs, and the risk of a stomach-churning drop is always present. The high-reward part is enticing. Imagine being an early investor in a company like Uber or Airbnb. The potential for exponential growth in a short time can be irresistible. Startups are often at the forefront of innovation, pushing boundaries and disrupting industries. They offer the chance to be part of something groundbreaking, something that could change the world. It's not just about the money, but the excitement of being part of a revolution. But let's not forget the high-risk side of the equation. For every Uber, there are countless startups that crash and burn, leaving investors with nothing but a story of what could have been. The reality is, most startups fail. It's not for the faint-hearted. Investing in startups is a bit like playing the lottery, but with higher stakes and potentially higher rewards. Contrast this with traditional investments like stocks and bonds. They may not be as glamorous or exciting, but they've stood the test of time. They offer slower, steadier returns. It's the tortoise versus the hare. The hare may sprint ahead, but the tortoise keeps plodding along, and we all know who won that race. So where does this leave us? It's a game of risk versus reward, innovation versus stability. It's about understanding your tolerance for risk, your appetite for potential returns, and your desire to be part of the startup revolution. It's not a one-size-fits-all answer. So, is startup funding a golden goose or a ticking time bomb? The jury is still out. But one thing is certain, it's an adventure like no other. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. So, what have we learned about startups and traditional businesses today? Well, we've put our thinking caps on and dived deep into the exciting, if not a bit chaotic, world of startups. We've seen how they come roaring out of the gate with their innovative ideas, ready to disrupt and revolutionize. They're like the wild mustangs of the business world, untamed and full of potential. But let's not forget, these mustangs can be a bit unpredictable. The risks are high, and the path to success is often littered with the remnants of failed ventures. Now, contrast this with the steady, reliable workhorse that is the traditional business. They may not be as flashy or as fast, but they offer stability and predictability, chugging along at their own pace. Whether you see startups as a unique breed or just another business, one thing is clear: they are here to stay and continue to shake up the business landscape. But remember, every rose has its thorn.